Thanks for entering the Crypt with us. We're Bone Patrol. I'm Aaron.
Chris?
Tyler.
And today's episode is actually suggested by one of our listeners. What was his name? I Feast on Glue. Is that his Instagram tag?
Zane, but his Instagram tag is I Feast on Glue.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like a healthy thing to do.
We wouldn't suggest it. But if you do feast on glue, we'd like to have you on the podcast.
I think you can probably view that on My Strange Addiction. I'm sure we can find someone.
It's a TLC special.
Yeah.
And for giving us this really good topic to look up and research and cover today, he also asked if we could shout out his cousin's card game. It's called Bootleg Heroes Trading Card Game. You can find it on Twitter. Go ahead and check it out. It looks like it's pretty funny.
The only thing, I wouldn't ever recommend getting bootleg fireworks. Take it from Terry.
Yeah. They like catch bushes on fire and like you have to get the water.
Yeah.
But pretty much the trading card game looks like it's just a they take like characters and stuff from other probably trading card games and they bootleg them.
Bootleg. Yeah, so today, the episode that Glue Feaster sent us is, I mean, it was new to me. I'd never heard of this. Have you guys ever heard of this?
No, never.
Is it Melon Heads?
Today we're going over Melon Heads.
Not to be confused with the band.
Oh, I thought they were the rival gang to the Sharks. Or was it the Foot Clan?
Maybe.
The Melon Heads, right?
Wait, in TMNT there's a Melon Head clan?
Yeah, I'm sure that, yeah, that's what these are, right? The Melon Heads. I thought that all my research is Ninja Turtle based.
Oh, shoot. I think we researched the wrong thing. I mean, I researched the band.
Well, this is probably fine because the Melon Head lore, it's from Michigan to Ohio to Connecticut. These are the three regions that this lore really covers.
Not New York? That's where the Ninja Turtles are. I did the wrong thing, guys.
So today it's just going to be me and Tyler, and we're going to be covering the legend of a humanoid creature with a bulbous melon-like head, a.k.a.
Hudson.
Kevin.
Kevin and Hudson. The battle
The
of the
Melon
Melon
Heads.
Heads.
Now, the Melon Head. It's stories of feral humans with watermelon-shaped skulls, and these tales, it spawned movies, it spawned ghost stories, YouTube channels, and even books. My favorite being Melon Head by Katie Kelly. It goes over Adam Mellon, who's friends with Lucy Rose, who gave him the nickname Melon Head. And so Melon Head is a 10-year-old who's a genius in inventing. But this year, they've got to go to the Capitol. They go to Capitol Hill because it's got all sorts of cool gadgets and gizmos to make the coolest invention for the year in their science fair.
Jimmy?
That's my favorite one. Oh, it's in paperback. You can get that in paperback. So.
Wait, is Jimmy Neutron a Melon Head?
I think so. I was questioning, is Arnold from Hey Arnold
That's
a Melon
what
Head?
I just thought about.
Yeah.
Arnold is literally... No, he's a football head.
But are they closely related?
The football?
Are they cousins?
Yeah, the football heads and
That's
the
what
melon
I
head.
was thinking.
I'd say so.
Well, it's like a melon head if you stepped on him. If you just bonked him on the head.
Squishy squish.
Bonk.
Yeah. Well, in all seriousness, I tried to find stuff about them, and it's like far and few between. It's it is actually, I would say, it's more obscure of a topic, the Melon Heads.
Oh, I thought you were still talking about the relationship between
No,
melon
not
heads
Hey
and
Arnold.
football heads. I was like, of course there's not going to be
pretty
anything.
obscure.
But Katie Kelly, if you're a listener, we would like to have you on, and you can talk about your book, Melon Head.
Yeah, that'd be actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm down.
So if you're from one of the areas we mentioned earlier, perhaps you've heard already of the legend of the Melon Heads and would be willing to share your story.
Yeah, a melon head encounter. Have you ever been attacked by a small humanoid watermelon-headed creature?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, if you have like evidence, I'd love to see that.
Like the seeds from their head?
Oh,
The seeds.
I would also like to know if you would describe them more as watermelon, cantaloupe, or honeydew shaped.
That's true, because those are like differing sizes. Or can be.
Yeah,
Oh, I thought that was another melon. It's like, what's a can be?
the can be melon, only in the Philippines.
But regardless of the region, the cause of the gourd cranium stays the same. Hydrocephalus?
Yes.
I don't think it's syphilis, so I'm guessing cephalus.
Hydrocephalus. This is
Let's
a
hope not.
well, yeah, no. And hydrocephalus is basically a condition where fluid builds up in the cavity of the brain.
I think it's usually from the spinal fluid.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's cerebral fluid.
Yeah, it blocks that as well. So it
Yeah.
builds up and then it blocks the flow of cerebral. What did you call it?
Cerebral fluid.
Okay, This is probably a dumb question. I've heard cerebral like 1,000
I
times.
don't think it's I don't think it's
Or is
cerebral.
it spinal?
It's yeah, it's cerebrospinal fluid.
Oh, cerebral. Okay, my bad.
yeah.
What's what was that word?
Cerebral fluid.
Yeah, what's that?
I'm guessing fluid in the brain.
Made up.
Oh, because I hear on like House and other
Oh, really?
MD type shows.
Well, maybe I
maybe-
got it from House.
Well, maybe it's the same thing. I don't know, but this is
Yeah.
specifically cerebrospinal fluid.
I'm gonna look that up. You continue.
And while it gives you a pretty cool cat look, there's a danger in blocking cerebrospinal fluid because it can cause permanent brain damage and functionality and even death. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was looking up these doctors who were, I don't know if they were pioneering the surgery, but they were able to go inside and unblock it. And so if you were to catch this early enough, it could actually reverse the cause of hydrocephalus.
Well, yeah, they can do it. That's the main way they cure it is they basically can just drain out the fluid from your head.
On dictionary, just when you Google it, it says clear watery fluid which fills the space between the arachnoid membrane and the pia mater. I don't know what a pia mater is.
For all I know, it's the same thing. I don't know.
it-
Cerebrospinal fluid.
Yeah, it's fluid in the spine and in your brain, in your noggin. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're looking for a hood rat, cool cat look, check with your doctor today. See if hydrocephalus is right for you.
You can actually
Side effects may.
May include permanent brain damage and functionality and death.
You can also get the spinal fluid. They're offering it in like cartons now. So if you can just
Curtains?
cartons.
Oh, cartons.
Yeah, like milk cartons. They're just recycled, so it's just better for the planet, and you can inject it straight into your head.
Is that the new option for schools now? Like I've seen like at elementary schools, instead of milk, it's just that.
Yeah, just spinal
Well, yeah,
fluid.
no, that brings me to my favorite method of curing hydrocephalus. It's the juice box method, where you just take a big straw and you right to the head and slurp it out.
Just siphon it out.
Siphon.
I'm gonna. Do you mind if I steal some of your head fluid, bro?
Oh no, man.
Got too much.
Yeah. So if you notice that your head is growing in size at an exponential rate, you might have hydrocephalus.
My question is, does your head become squishy?
Parts of it can, yes.
Imagine the type of headbutt you could produce with that much liquid in your head, because the momentum from going back and forth, if it's like floppy on top, it has like a whiplash effect.
I think it'd be similar to hitting somebody with a garbage bag full of Jello.
I would hurt.
Yeah, it's not gonna feel nice,
It
but
would
it might
explode.
It might rip.
But if you could get it down right, like an Indiana Jones style whip effect with your head, yeah. Oh my gosh.
No, but reading about it, so this can happen to adults or children.
At any time in your life?
Yeah.
It just starts leaking in.
It's stopped. No, it's the opposite. It's not leaking.
Well,
it's getting blocked, and so
Oh.
it starts filling up.
Oh. Can
Yeah.
you fix it with Flex Seal?
Yes. No, Flexil to just make it worse.
Can you
That's how
cause
you
it?
get it.
Can you cause it with
Use
Flex
too
Seal?
much
If you
Flexil.
eat Flexil.
Yeah. Well, but couldn't you just clog up the hole between your spine and your noggin? And
No, that would start causing it to build up, I think.
does it build up in the spine or in the head?
In the head.
Oh.
I don't know where it's produced. I
Then
assume
why
it's
is it-
produced in the spine and it goes to the.
I think so.
That's
yeah.
what I would think. Is
don't
it
know, we're not
starts in the
doctors.
spine
Not
because it's called
doctors.
spinal fluid.
But what I was getting at is one of the symptoms in kids is squishiness in the head. So
Ah.
I know like kids, especially babies, will have squishy heads because their skull hasn't fused entirely.
Yeah, they have
But if
that,
that
like,
continues on much later
spot.
than it should and their head's real squishy, and then it starts growing and looking like a watermelon.
Well, they have that spot in the center of their head that like you can see their heartbeat through. It's super gross.
Yeah, it's because babies, their hearts are actually in their head and their brain is where their heart is.
It's you just
It's
pile
similar.
drive them and it's an
then
instant
as they
fatality.
grow,
Pile drive them. No, you body slam.
I don't think
through
you
time.
have to do either of that to kill a baby instantly. I don't
Have
know
you
why.
seen the babies in 2020? They're monstrous. They're huge.
They're so big.
They're evolving with the times.
Now, the Melon Heads. It gets, I mean, I would say between the three regions of Michigan, Ohio, and Connecticut, the stories stay practically the same, very, very similar, sharing similar themes, but they'll switch up names and maybe the specific location of where, like, of the origin.
Yeah, I
But
agree with that.
overall, the stories seem pretty much the same. Have you noticed
They
anything
basically
different?
have the same theme where these kids have hydrocephalus. They get abused either by a doctor or by like an asylum or
By like the asylum, the building, like the building,
like the actual building, yeah.
or the employees inside.
And then they revolt and kill or
They get assaulted by a building.
hey, that's happened to me several times.
Walking into a door doesn't count as the building assaulting you.
You don't know that.
It is if it's a revolving door and it hits you back.
Well,
Yeah.
it depends how fast you're
Yeah.
spinning it.
I don't like revolving doors. They keep on hitting me.
It's just self-defense when it's Tyler's case. So in Michigan, we'll start with that one. So in Michigan, the Melon Heads are believed to have lived around the area of the historical Michigan Felt Mansion.
I know that place. I've been there.
Is
I've
that-
never heard of
Is
it.
that Slenderman's mansion?
Yeah, that's where. Yeah, Slender Felt Man.
Slender felt.
Yeah, that's his middle name is Felt.
But get this, they have been claimed to have seen as far as 40 minutes away from Felt Mansion.
Around how would you Ottawa County?
Ottawa. Yeah.
Ottawa County
Ottawa,
Forest.
Ottawa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So-
sounds like a character from the Cars movie. Ottawa.
Ottawa.
Yeah. Anyways, so they're it's like they've been traveling. They got a tour bus. They're on tour in Michigan.
But they only go 40 minutes.
Well, they don't know how to drive.
Yeah, these are little kids we're talking about.
Yeah.
At this point, though, they're not going to be kids. They were kids originally.
True.
I don't know. What that's part of it is they say they're still like small.
Yeah, but they wouldn't be kids.
Did that stunt their growth? Is that the
Sure.
thing with hydro? What is it?
Hydrocephalus.
No, I don't. Well, one of the things is death, which definitely stunts your growth.
Yeah, but not spiritually.
You go pretty strong from that.
Yes.
So going back to the origin of where it happened, Dor Felt, the owner of the mansion in Michigan, he had just patented a calculating machine.
Yeah. So this is from the wiki. When you look up Melon Heads, it says it has a link to Dorfelt mansion owner, and Dorfelt is the owner of the mansion, and it just says he created a calculating machine to help the accountants at the factory he worked at.
Yeah.
Did he not make the calculator? Is that not what that would be?
He made a calculator,
Well,
probably
right.
not the modern day. I would
No.
assume if they said calculating machine, it would have been a modern day. It would have been for them a modern day calculator, but it's not equivalent
Right.
to our modern day calculator.
I mean, yeah, that's just how it goes.
because it
But,
could also
like,
have been specifically engineered for whatever they were specifically accounting at the mill.
I
so,
assumed that it was
very
like
catered
you put
towards
it in
their
and it
profession.
counts them things as it goes
It
through.
counts 1 wood, 2 wood, 3 wood, 4
but it
wood.
caps out at 5.
It's like, oh, we have to reset it.
But yeah, so he invented the machine that is just a calculating machine. Calculator? Maybe.
Yeah.
That's the real mystery here, actually, is what did he invent? But and right, he just with that he with the money from his calculator, he purchased the estate known as the Felt Mansion.
And that was it. Like, there was nothing weird about it. He was just a rich guy who owned a big house.
Yeah, nothing creepy about it.
He
There was
also
no
liked felt.
deaths. He liked his name is Felt.
But this is where it gets wrapped in. So the legend of the Michigan Melon Heads it goes as follows. They were children who suffered from hydrocephalus, and they lived at the Junction Insane Asylum. Now, this is where already I have a disconnect, is I'm already confused a little bit. These kids are suffering from a physical ailment.
Yeah,
So why are they in an insane asylum, which is typically mental?
because back in the day it was just so stupid. It was like you walked funny and they lock you in a cage.
Yeah, and I think most of these stories, they take place in 1960, so like way back when.
Yeah, so it's
Way back, 1960, way back when.
I wasn't born.
I wasn't born.
Yeah. I mean, I also wasn't born in 1992, but I wouldn't say that was way back when.
That's a while.
That's more than I can count.
I'm gonna look up. Give me a second. I'm gonna see if I can figure out when the Felt Mansion was built.
Yeah, no,
Built.
so we got all these kids suffering from a terrible physical ailment that will, if not cured, will either kill them or cause permanent brain functionality and damage.
The
Yeah.
mansion was built in 1927.
Okay, that is a little farther
I
back.
think
Further
the-
back than 1960.
the beef of these stories, the real meaty parts of it started to come up around the 60s. I think that's when the stories started to happen.
Now, so these children in the insane asylum, they were claimed to have suffered from mental and physical abuse, which caused them to, as they grew up, to become feral in the way they act. Which that seems plausible to me.
Yeah, I mean, I would become feral if people were abusing me.
Well, it is the way we found you.
Now,
Yeah, let's not talk about
Feral,
that.
naked in
With
the
a-
streets.
with a giant football head.
Yeah, and we had to do the juice box maneuver on your head. Glug, glug,
Is
glug.
that why I can't remember anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got glugged.
Glug, glug, glug.
Maybe it's all that glue I was eating.
That, yeah.
Feaster.
Glue.
Now, this is where the story, though, really gets good. So, after being admitted to this insane asylum, abused, and now can have their complete childhood ruined, and now they're feral animals, is the way it's described, they were released into the forest.
Be free, Willie, be free.
Yeah, they were just like in the area around the asylum. They're like, all right, be free. And they just set the feral children with the gourd heads out to live there. And then all of a sudden, stories start popping up of people walking the forest getting attacked by feral children.
I mean,
I wonder if it was like an experiment. Like, oh, let's see what happens if we like release these guys.
I don't think they had a way of tracking them back then, though.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, they would just have to walk around like, oh, there goes one.
Hey, wait up, wait up.
I like the way it was described. They were left to attack anyone in their path in a wild rage.
Yes, they were mean little lads with lots of juices but no thoughts.
Yeah.
It was all juice, no pulp.
All juice, no
So these stories have been floating around for, we're talking minimum of like 60-ish years.
Yeah, basically.
But the Allegan County Historical Society claims that there was never an insane asylum in that area.
Yeah,
But there was a county jail at one point.
That's what I was gonna say. Is they think that might, if this story is true, they think that it might have just gotten mixed up for the county jail. I don't know if they had like a psych ward or something there. I don't know.
In the 60s, probably not.
Yeah.
They probably did, but that's not what they called it. They just
Yeah.
called it the dumb people room.
Yeah.
Put them in the dumb guy room.
So now these parts are specifically to the Michigan style side of the story. So some people in the Michigan area like to refer to melon heads as wobbleheads.
Wow, wow.
I imagine that comes from how they look when they're trying to run with their giant heads and their tiny bodies.
What's
Oh,
that?
look at that little boy. He wobble ahead. Hey, what up?
Why are you chasing him?
Get back here, wobble boy.
Get back here, wobble boy.
I require your juices inside your brain.
I'm thirsty.
Now, some say the melon heads actually used to live inside the Felt Mansion, which I don't see
It's like,
anything
what?
to like back that up.
No, I think they just must have just been a lot of sightings in the area, and they're residing somewhere.
But the second half of this seems much more plausible, as they later moved out of the mansion into a system of caverns that connected to the local abandoned zoo. And that's where they lived.
I think that's pretty cool that they have like these like tunnels that they could just like crawl under and pop out of anywhere and attack somebody.
That's like the mole man from Incredibles.
The Underminer.
Yeah, that guy.
So these are like loot goblins in real life.
Pretty much, yeah.
They're huge. They got massive. Well, they're not huge.
Their
Their
heads.
heads are massive, carrying a bunch of, I'd say, gold inside, is my guess. Gold and precious gems inside their heads. And they live in these caverns deep below the earth where they're protected. I'm getting way ahead of myself on my theory, so we're going to step back and I'll get to that later.
Also, I didn't do any research. Has anyone confirmed that this local abandoned zoo is actually there,
I just assumed at this point none of it exists.
except the Melon
so
Heads,
Felt Mansion does exist.
Yeah,
Yes.
and they confirmed the county jail did, but
Yeah.
not the
That's-
asylum.
yeah, I haven't looked up the zoo.
well, and why would there be a system of caverns that connected to the zoo?
Yeah, that just seems weird.
Well, very convenient for the story
Yeah.
anyway. Well, some also say the children who escaped from the asylum had planned to kill the doctor or abuse them. Now that could seem likely. And after killing the doctor, they cut up his body and scattered the remains of the doctor around the mansion. People have claimed to see the ghosts of children at the mansion, and others claim to see a light left by the doctor the children killed. So This is also just assuming that they also lived in the mansion, which why in the world would they have been living there?
Maybe they have like a high class personality where they're just like, I love a house where you can get lost in.
It's just confusing. And because you go back, you look at Dorfeld, rich guy, invented a calculator, running a mill, built a big old house, and then decided to just take in a bunch of kids suffering from hydrocephalus and then hired a doctor to abuse them.
Maybe yeah, it's really murky. Like all the stories of like their origins that I've like read is like most of the details are really murky where it's like he said, she said, this is what is to be believed and all that stuff.
Regardless, I like it. I think the story's fantastic and I believe it 100%.
So I was doing some quick typey.
Typey.
There's two zoos I could find. There's one in Detroit that's an abandoned in 1910.
Mm-hmm.
Only 2.5 hours away. I'm sure those caverns are 2.5 hours away long. But the other one was called Lakewood Farms, which I guess they had like a small zoo type attraction there. It's 4 hours away, but that's because you have to go around a lake to get to it.
So if the caverns went under the lake.
Or if their freaking melon heads were floaties.
It's true. Are they buoyant?
Water
Maybe.
on water.
Yeah.
It depends on. Now the real question is cerebral spinal fluid lighter than water? Like is it more
less dense?
Yeah.
We would have to ask the Mythbusters. Hey, Mythbusters, can you do a myth for us? If you're listening.
What was that guy? Walrus guy.
Oh yeah, Walrus guy and
the Heiny Man.
No, that's the same guy.
Oh, Walrus Heiny Man.
It's Adam Savage and Jamie Heineman.
Oh yeah, the Savage and Heiny Man.
Heiny.
No, I don't know.
So is that second zoo? Is that on the west side of Michigan?
Let me pull that map.
Because I know Detroit's on the east side.
Right. 1 second. I just have the directions, so let me open up the maps.
Now I have no idea how to interpret any of this, but there's the density of cerebral spinal fluid. I don't know how you.
What's the density? Can you pull the density of water up?
I don't even know how to read this.
Yeah, it's really
complex.
Yeah, because they're measure. So it's in grams per.
I don't know,
milliliters.
I don't really understand.
I mean, I took physics like a semester ago, and I forgot everything.
This farm thing is actually not. Oh wait. Yeah, it's in Wisconsin, across the lake, but
because Felt Mansion, when I looked it up, it's on the west side of Michigan near I think Holiday.
Yeah, it's right on. Are you talking about Holland?
Holland, yeah. Sorry, it's Holland.
And it's right on the bay of Lake Michigan.
Oh, so it's just right across.
So you cross Lake Michigan, and then that's so weird. Lake Michigan goes into Wisconsin?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't either. It doesn't have a different name when it crosses the border. It doesn't turn into Lake Wisconsin all of a sudden.
It's like they have a line in the...
Well, because I can see where it splits up the state, but what if they had a sign in the middle of the lake that just is like, now entering Lake Wisconsin?
Now, do you think the Melon Heads, if they weren't buoyant, would they still a boat and be able to boat across the lake?
Well, I actually think they would, and I don't want to spoil anything
maybe
now.
Like a skiff?
I think they have the capability of doing such a thing. I think they're little
think
sneaky
so
lads.
Yeah.
They're up to no good.
Yeah, but I can't interpret the data. I have no idea if it's more or less buoyant than water.
I feel like I can research it, but like right now, I don't think I could.
So I think that kind of just wraps up very briefly the history behind the Michigan Melon Heads. So
wait. What? There was one other thing, right, with Michigan Melon Heads is some believe. Oh, did you guys already talk about how they killed the doctor?
The doctor, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was typing at that point.
Yeah.
Rip, kill.
Are we gonna share stories after we explain?
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind.
Well, I mean, when you say stories, are you talking about theories or like encounters?
No, like stories.
Oh.
Because there's one I think that's from Michigan.
But we could share them after. I think if we can get everyone, they can know all the different histories.
Yeah.
So we can go into Ohio. The Ohio Melon Head legend is fairly similar to the Michigan one. This legend, it takes place in Cleveland, a suburb of Kirtland. And the Ohio legend begins with a doctor who went by Dr. Crow. Now, it's spelled so many different ways everywhere you read it.
It's
Like
Crow, Crone, Crow, or Dr. Melonhead.
I think that last one is the most believable.
Dr. Melonhead.
So Dr. Crow, he performed controversial and unusual experiments on children in an orphanage. So already, this is seeming a little more believable than Michigan, in my opinion.
There's definitely orphanages everywhere.
We can confirm that. And his experiments caused some children's bodies and heads to change shape.
What was he doing?
He was doing the classic Bugs Bunny anvil test.
You put them in a Laffy Taffy machine.
Yeah.
Stretch them out.
Stretch.
Willy Wonka.
So it's like Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonkus. Dr. Willy Wonkus on the
Dr.
case.
Wampler.
And then, so it was claimed that some of his patients had hydrocephalus, and that's caused him to inject more fluids into their heads to see what would happen.
You're just like, 2 negatives make a positive, right?
I don't know if his purpose was to cure them or to see how big he could get their heads.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't think he was trying to cure them.
Doesn't sound like it.
Now,
No.
this is where the Ohio and the Michigan ones kind of cross paths. The children are rumored to have killed the doctor and then escaped from the orphanage. The Melon Head children were seen along the Windsor
Road.
Windsor Road in Kirkland, Ohio, and Chardon Township. They're about 50 minutes apart, these two cities, and they believe to feed on small animals, small children, and other babies.
Yeah, and I think this is where.
Although I won't. I guess I shouldn't qualify them.
I know. I was about to say other babies.
Other babies. But I think this is where the fact that they love to like litter the roads with like deer limbs.
I heard it was just like remains in general.
Or remains
to
in
like
general.
lure people in.
And I think this comes like especially from Ohio.
The melon head one?
Well,
I mean not not that the melon head spreading
like the
Ohio?
remains. Yeah, from what I researched, I mean it could be in Michigan and Connecticut.
Because what I read was that they would spread remains to like get people to go look at it, and then they would like
attack them.
Yeah, be like, look over here, a hand.
Wow, that's a hand. Oh, what is that? Oh!
All of a sudden, my kneecaps are being nibbled on.
Hey there, wobbly head. What you doing there?
Hey, wobblehead, I need some juice.
And that's the Ohio one. The Ohio one's pretty simple, straightforward. Doesn't give any. It gives a couple specific locations, but unlike the Michigan one, it leaves it up for imagination. I think a little more.
Well, the origin is so similar.
It's basically the same. They just changed the names and the type of building that assaulted them.
I hate you, revolving doors.
Now we get to the Connecticut Melon Heads. This is where it gets spicy. It gets. I was going to use the word juicy, but it seemed insensitive.
Juice? No, juicy is great. What? Can I pause at Jews when I said juicy?
Juicy.
I don't know what their predominant religious belief is, and I don't know where they're from. But we don't know.
Yeah,
they could be Jewish.
Yeah, we're not saying it isn't possible.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you think they wear yarmulkes if they are Jewish?
They're gonna need some extra large ones for their heads
because they're pretty small.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Connecticut Melon Head legend has several different variations throughout the southwest part of Connecticut, but particularly around the central and eastern Fairfield County and New Haven County, which they're about 30 minutes apart. It's kind of the same. In Fairfield County, there's a version of the myth that takes place in an asylum for the criminally insane. So a little different. With a little spicy, little adjective thrown in there. You got to pay attention to these adjectives. They're dangerous.
Ohio's got the insane asylum. Wait, which one had the insane asylum? They both had insane asylums.
Yes.
One could have been a prison. So, like, how could we combine the two?
Criminally insane.
Well, no. Ohio didn't have an insane asylum. They had an orphanage.
Oh, I thought freaking orphans.
Michigan had. Well, one of the stories is it was an insane asylum.
Oh, so they just combined the two. They're like, Michigan's doing it wrong. Just combine them. Right. No one can question you.
Exactly. Is it a jail? Is it an asylum? It's both. Smart. Connecticut, we're proud of you. If you're from Connecticut, you get a gold star for this episode.
Ding. That was a gold star being placed.
Yeah.
Ding.
Now, this asylum burned down in the fall of 1960. In the fire, several staff patients and 10 to 20 inmates were killed or at least unaccounted for. They believe a lot of these who were unaccounted for made a quick escape when the fire began. I mean, I would assume so, and hid in the woods. And then they just decided to never leave the woods and just stayed there forever and lived in the woods, hiding from the general public and law enforcement. And because they were there for so long and the police were just obviously everywhere, always looking for them, they resorted to cannibalism and inbreeding.
Yeah, this
The Wombo combo.
big event is actually known as the Trail of Watermelon Seeds.
Yeah. And of course, you get the wombo combo of cannibalism and inbreeding, and then of course all of your children have hydrocephalus.
Yes, I did look it up. It can be caused from
So it can be
inbreeding. Yeah.
genetic. That's crazy.
Now, the story you may hear it, and the asylum might be a prison or a campground. The campground doesn't make much sense to me because why would you be hiding in the woods?
If you're
You don't have a
already living in the
reason to be
woods.
hiding in the woods. Well, if you're at a campground, it sounds like you just went on a vacation with your family. The campground caught on fire. And you're like, uh-oh, guess we better start eating Counselor Jim to stay alive.
I kind of get the vibe that it might have been like, I don't know, was it? I assumed like when you was campgrounds as in like that's where people lived. I didn't think of it as like people were like on vacation there.
I was thinking like a Camp Crystal Lake.
Jason Voorhees does kind of resemble
He's a melon head.
a melon head.
I mean, yeah, a little bit.
On the
like if
the
you
flip
dropped
side.
that melon multiple times.
Boing, boing,
His mom probably
and then
did.
attempted to drown it.
Yes. yes, because you were too busy making love.
Oh, with the camp counselor Jerry.
Jerry.
Yeah. Yeah, anyways, Friday the 13th. My
It's a
review,
movie.
I would say I gave it a solid 3 out of 10. Not very good.
3 out of 10.
I've yet to watch the final chapter or Jason Goes to Space, but I'm getting there.
Jason rides the mechanical bull.
No,
at
did
Texas
you not know?
Roadhouse.
I'm not going to spoil it for all you people. That's how the series ends. He goes to space.
Yeah, well, they do a lot of interesting things with
He
those
becomes an
characters.
astronaut.
Like, have you seen Freddy versus Jason? There's this cool scene where Freddy, they're at Camp Crystal Clear Lake, and Freddy is using his claws to cut off the ends of like canisters of, they look like helium canisters. I don't know what's in them. And Jason is like Matrix dodging all of them as they fly at him. He's like doing the lean back and everything.
So do they do bullet time where he's just like leaning back and like trying to like dodge
Kind
him?
of.
That's
A little
pretty cool.
bit, yeah.
They get pretty cool.
That one I would give a 7 out of 10 just for that scene.
So that wraps up the most popular theory in Connecticut. The second most popular version of the Connecticut Melon Heads follows that the descendants of a colonial era family from Shelton Thrumball. What a crazy name.
Let's get ready to thrumble.
They were banished from their town when they were accused of practicing witchcraft, forcing them to retreat into the woods. Similar to the other story, these Melon Heads.
What?
I thought you were looking at me, and
Oh,
so I
sorry.
stopped.
No.
No, so similar to the other story, these melon heads had deformed head and bodies. It's a side effect also of inbreeding. So just like the other one, it was just a result of inbreeding, not the witchcraft, though.
Maybe. There's a theory on that.
And these specific melon heads prey on any innocent individual who happens to wander into their territory. So if you're going to be in their territory, just make sure you're not innocent. Be guilty of something.
Or bring straws.
Yeah.
Straws.
Yeah, the old juice box method.
I'm thirsty.
Hey, Wobblehead, I'm thirsty.
Oh, come here, Wobblehead. I'm thirsty.
When Tyler's in their area, they all stay silent. They tell their children to be quiet. The thirsty white man will find you.
The thirsty, long-headed, curly man will eat you.
Did you describe your own head as
I
long-headed?
think he meant to say long hair.
Oh, long-haired, sorry. Yes, I am. My head is long and curly.
Yeah, the long-headed curly man.
I am not a cousin to the Melon Heads.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, I'm going to stop you. Let's see if we can start like a Slenderman type mythos, but for the long-headed curly man. Like, let's see if us and the listeners out there, we can like come up with a legend for the long-headed curly man and see if we can make it stick.
And we can like post it to like 4chan and all those other sites.
You can post it to 4chan.
You can go to 4chan.
I'm staying safe at home,
Yeah.
not on 4chan.
No,
Same.
4chan.
Alright.
Some subreddits.
Well, we gotta. Okay. Yeah. If you're listening, long-headed curly man, shoot us your ideas of what this guy would look like. We'll post on Instagram.
Hudson, I know you're there. Zane, you're there too.
Start-
Quit feasting on glue.
Start thinking about it. What would a long-headed curly man look like? Why would he be scary? What's his purpose? His origin? His favorite food?
I feel like what we need to do is take every attribute of Tyler and just skew it so it's creepy.
I mean, I'm already creepy as it is. I don't think you can really.
He is the long-headed curly. Okay, well that solves that.
Yeah, we'll come back to this
Yeah,
one.
we'll have to talk about that.
Now, to wrap up the Connecticut version of the Melon Heads, a lot of these encounters in Connecticut, they link back to a mysterious road known as Dracula Drive.
Which is funny because Dracula Drive isn't a real road in Connecticut.
And Dracula wasn't a melon head.
He loves melon
yeah,
heads.
they had enough juice in the cranium. They kept him hydrated. He's like, Wobblehead, I am parched. I require juice.
Now, so while there isn't a Dracula Drive in these areas, this is a nickname that people give certain roads in these areas, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So all of these areas have a road that the locals have nicknamed Dracula Drive, right? Or
Yeah. Like, for
basically
example,
nickname.
there's Edmonds Road in Oxford, Velvet Street in Trumbull and Monroe. Zion Hill Road in Milford, Marginal Road
Yep.
in New Haven, Jeremy Swamp.
Which honestly, that one shouldn't have been changed. That's a good enough name.
Jeremy
already.
Swamp is definitely where the Melon Heads are. But that if you want to visit Jeremy Swamp, that is in Southbury. Jeremy Swamp has a lot to offer if you're newlyweds. It's a great honeymoon getaway. Yeah, you can go kayaking on Jeremy Swamp. You can get massages from Jeremy on the swamp.
Oh, the swamp.
Are you saying if I contact a travel gnome, he can set up a vacation package at Jeremy
Oh.
Swamp?
Of course.
But watch out, you might get gnomed.
Gnome. He's not a
And-
gnoblin.
No.
He's a gnome.
And there's also just a lot of just roads around lakes and things in the Fairfield area that are people call Dracula Drive. And these typically are the areas people claim to see melon heads.
I think it's just a nickname they give for roads that like happenings, like things happen on, like creepy events. So melon heads in particular in this scenario.
Yeah. And so that wraps up the general origin, history, folklore of the melon heads in these three specific areas. Now, I'm not saying that melon heads are only in these areas, but these are the three main areas that people claim to have seen them.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast. I can't even remember what it was, but they had a story. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. But they had a story from Florida. But yeah,
That's the one state that definitely doesn't have them.
Yeah.
They just have people on bath salts.
Well, you know what, though?
Bath
It would be the best place to go because you could just get Mickey Mouse ears to hide your big melon head.
It's true. Oh my gosh. That's a theory, is all the characters at Disney World are secretly melon heads. They can't remove the costume because their head is too fat. It grew while they were in the costume.
And
So don't hug 'em.
they feast on innocent children, which where are you going to find a plethora of that? Disney World, the
Yeah.
Magic Kingdom.
Uh-huh. That's a good theory.
Yeah.
I was also going to mention that when you go to the Melon Heads wiki, it states that the popular states are Michigan, Ohio, North Carolina, and Connecticut. But when you research the North Carolina one, there's not a lot of substance.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know why they included that one, because even on the wiki page, they don't have legends of them in North Carolina, but for the other three states they do.
Because the closer you get to Florida, the more Wampler has tried to silence these claims.
Wampler.
He owns Disney World.
Now, I think that is it gives you a pretty good idea of who the melon heads are, how they came to be possibly, and what they do, which is they just eat each other, they eat people, they kill everything innocent and small, and they inbreed.
Yep. Everything a melon head knows how to do.
Now-
yeah, those are the only things.
Now we get into the fun stuff. Actual verified 100% moonlight ghost, if you're listening, these are real and true
Come on.
sightings of melon heads.
Fact check me, Jake. I dare ya. I don't know. We just talked about the
Yeah.
Connecticut. Should I just jump in with a Connecticut one I was researching?
Yeah, I
It's-
would jump in with that one.
So this one is the Connecticut Blue Granada.
oh,
that's-
I love the story.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, a Granada is a car. It's a car. I think it's a Ford actually. I'm gonna look it up real quick. Granada Ford.
Granada! It's grenade, dude.
the
You're like-
blue
from
grenade.
You play-
COD?
yeah. I mean,
World.
Call of Duty.
I almost said COD World War II. I'm sure that's one of them, right? World War II Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, yeah, Ford Granada. So this is a really popular story in Connecticut. It's these girls in high school, these teenage girls, decided that one night after partying, they would go for a drive. And they hopped in their Ford Granada to Velvet Street in Trumbull, which was one of the what was it, Dracula drives?
Yeah.
It was one of the Dracula drives, and their sole purpose here was to find a melon head, like, because everyone there knows the legend. So they're like, we're gonna go find a melon head. We're gonna catch it, put it in a box, release it in my mom's room while she's asleep, and see what happens. That isn't part of it, but so they go looking for melon heads in their natural habitat on Dracula Drive, Velvet Road. And so the girls pull up in a wooded area and they hop out the car, leaving the headlights on because that's the only thing illuminating the area at night. And they make it about 100 feet, 100, was it feet, yards? They make it into the woods just a little bit, not very far. And then they hear the car doors slam behind them. And as they turn around, they notice their Granada is just coming at them. It's barreling at them at full speeds, and they all start to jump out of the way. But while they're jumping out of the way, they notice that inside are a bunch of small children with large bulbous heads, and they had, I think they said they had an orangish tint to their eyes.
Yeah.
And they were just causing some havoc, and they were trying to hit the girls, and they drove away with their car. They never got their car back.
Is this one of the situations where one is down controlling the pedals and one is on the steering wheel?
I think so.
Yeah, I think, yeah, they're like little gremlins for sure, just going at it. But it's funny because I just can't help but imagine the melon heads as like, I don't know, I want a Martin Scorsese mafia film with melon heads where they're like, well, you never seen a melon head before? And he's like, keep your eyes to the ground or I'm going to run you over with my blue Granada.
What you looking at, boy? What you looking at?
But so you could either go with they are gremlins or they're mafia members. One of the two. There's no middle ground.
Could they be both?
Yeah. I'm
middle ground.
Middle
Gotcha.
ground. I think the gremlins at heart are kind of mafia members, huh?
Yeah.
They're just running amok. That's what mafia members do.
They're just gremlins. If you're in the mafia, you're a gremlin.
You're correct.
But also, we'd like to have you on the podcast if you want to talk about
I was about to say,
Please join.
I do not associate you as a gremlin if you're a mafia member. I would like to live. Please do not gun me down. But yeah, so it said that to this day, people still encounter a blue Granada going nuts on Dracula Drive, running people off the road.
The melon heads not only are capable of so are they like a hive mind where, so that's how they drove it so seamlessly with one on the pedals and one on the wheel, is like one has like, they have, it's like a central melon head that gives it all the thoughts because his head's bigger than the rest.
That's the theory, is that inside the center of the earth, it's not the tall whites, it's not the lizard people, it's one massive melon head. Yeah, it looks like it's Megamind.
Yeah, we got Megamind in the middle.
Or the Watchers, or what is it, the from Marvel at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy, those big boys.
Yeah, the Watchers.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense because, like, that makes sense because the Watchers, their whole thing is to basically make a history of all, I guess, the universe. Like, they write down everything that happens in the universe to make a collection of, this is the history of everything.
Yeah.
So, yes, the melon heads are very powerful.
Well, when they're young, they're reckless like gremlins. When they're older, they're scholars.
Yeah,
it just takes them hundreds of years to actually hit adulthood.
So what I was getting at was not that, but originally was they're also mechanics. They maintained this car for years and years, and it's still running.
They figured out how to use a pump.
Yeah, they honestly have to like.
What kind of maintenance they do on those?
Yeah. Well,
how? They're tiny.
I mean, it makes it easy to access underneath. They just slide right in. Just.
But what about their head, though? Wouldn't that cause problems?
I mean, if their head is bulbous proportional to like a 5-year-old, their head's still going to be like regular dude head, right?
Well, I think it's not necessarily the size, but how it's shaped.
Yeah. I don't know.
When I imagine...
Like Megamind.
Yeah, like
Megamind. But if then you take Megamind as a 5-year-old, how big is his head really? I don't know. Can they fit under the car? Are you looking up Megamind's head size?
No.
Megamind 5-year-old.
Can I get the dimensions of Megamind's head, please? But no, I don't know. Yeah, that's the thing, is they're either stealing the same car over and over, or they've been maintaining this car for a long time.
I wonder if they just like Granadas.
I've never even seen one of these cars. I had never heard of a Granada until I was doing this.
Yeah.
if you're trying to figure out a way, if you're too scared of looking up Melon Heads specifically, you can look up Dr. Neocortex. He's a great example. Of
Is
what
that the
a Melon
big
Head might
guy?
look like. It's
Yeah.
the bad guy from Crash Bandicoot with the big N on his head.
Oh yeah,
Except for Melon Heads, they have a big M.
big M.
Yeah. So okay. So if this story's true, how do you explain like because the glowing eyes is something I'd never heard of in the like legend of Melon Heads, but they claimed the eyes were glowing. What would cause
Yeah,
that?
Well, they mentioned like some believable people say that they had like the same tint to skin, like a yellowish, orangish tint, which I mean, what kind of disease causes that? Jaundice.
Jaundice.
I feel
John
like
Cena.
I feel like somehow we always come back to jaundice one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We started from jaundice, we'll end in jaundice. It's
Yeah.
how life was created. It's how life will end.
But I mean, naturally.
Man was created from jaundice.
But I mean, inbreeding, liver failure, jaundice, that order.
Yeah.
Bam.
Boom.
Problem solved.
Dingo, bingo, bongo, dunzo.
But on the flip side, if you're sticking with the colonial era of the Connecticut, where like they were being cast out from witchcraft and wizardry, sent to Hogwarts, then Connecticut. I mean, back in the early colonial days, it's just there was tons of witch trials going on. People were like, "That's a witch. That's a witch. Let's kill him."
Yeah, Friday Night Witch Trials.
Yeah, that's
Freddy.
Well, so
you didn't have Monday Night Football. What else are you gonna do?
I mean, you may have heard of Friday Night Magic, where you can go play Magic the Gathering with your friends. Well, that's actually a continuation of an old 1600s tradition of Friday Night Magic, which was just witchcraft. But you gotta be careful because like sometimes end up in you being burned at the stake.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta. Well, it's the same now. If you were to go to your local comic book store or whatever to play Magic on Friday nights, if you destroy them too good, they will burn you at the stake and accuse you for cheating.
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
Yeah, they're like, that card's not allowed in tournament
That's not
play."
in standard anymore.
All right, idiot. All right, whatever. Anyways, so some people believe because in the 1600s, right, the big witchcraft thing started happening, and in 1647 to 1663, there was a huge witch hunt leading to witch trials in Connecticut, and they were known, I think, as just the Connecticut witch trials. Yeah, the Connecticut. I wrote Connecticut with trials, but it's witch trials. And there's an author by the name of John M. Taylor who wrote a book called The Witchcraft Delusion in Colonial Connecticut, where it has nothing to do with the Melon Heads. I'm just super intrigued by witchcraft, like that time period. But he said there were a total of 37 total cases in which 11 resulted in executions. And it's believed that several fled because they don't want to be killed, right? They don't want to be executed. And that brings it full circle to people are running away, living in the woods, inbreeding. But there's also the possibility, if you believe in witchcraft, the Melon Heads could be people they cursed.
So you're saying Melon Heads are a group of cursed colonials, but this curse was also genetic.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same when you have to carry Madame Zeroni to get the water.
Oh, it's a generational curse.
Yeah.
Carry Madame Zeroni.
It's funny because I was hanging out with Hudson this morning and we were talking about that. I didn't connect that until now.
So what would be the cure?
The cure? Juice box maneuver.
So it's the juice box method, but they're just. So you're saying there could have been people who have already cured their generational curse by the juice box method, but others are too scared to
Yeah,
do so.
well, I think to cure the Melon Head curse is you have to take one of the cursed family members and carry them up the mountain and let them drink from the water until they're big and ripe and they become one of the watchers. They're a scholar now, and then you have to carry the witch up the mountain to drink.
I think the cure is much more simple than that. I think we simply track down Rudolph Fence. We find him and we say, hey, buddy, we need your help. We track down Father Time. We face bust Father Time into the ground, ripping a hole in time and
Ripping a
space.
do in time and space.
Ooh,
We
yeah.
jump to the 1600s and we just stop the curse then and there.
Yeah, I mean, how do you... Here's the thing is, last I heard is Rudolph Fence pulled such a maneuver on Father Time. The craziest pile drive suplex combo you have ever seen. He went from pile drive to immediately grabbing him by the waist, suplexing him through space and time, that they're stuck just soaring through time. So we're going to have to set up like a wrestling rink where he hits it perfectly where he's going through, and that will stop it.
We can't do that. We then risk hitting Father Time so hard that he turns into a melon head.
Oh my. What would happen
Father Melon Head.
Father Wobblehead created wobble holes, wormholes that are made by Wobblehead, and it would just tear apart the fabric of time and reality, like time and space. We're done.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the ways that this world ends is because of that.
As Father Time gets hydrocephalus and becomes a melon head.
Makes sense to me.
But couldn't we just use the juice box? What do you get? I keep saying the juice box maneuver.
Well, that works too. I said the juice box method,
Yeah,
but I like the juice box maneuver. We could do that on Father Time.
So, yeah, I don't know. We got a problem on our hands. I think first things first is we have to find Wampler Disley's cryogenically frozen body, bring him back, and interrogate him, because he seems to be behind it with their mascots wearing the costumes, melon heads stuck inside.
Right.
So wait, is Wampler Disley the man who controls the melon
I'm
head?
going to stop you because every time you say it, it's so seamless because you just say that instead of saying.
I've actually never heard you say
Disney.
Walter Disney.
It's because every time he says it, he says Wampler Disley.
It's gotten to a point for me
I
where
think it's
I
just
say
habit.
Disney every time. I can hardly say Disney.
It's habit for me now.
Yeah, it is.
They're gonna have to rename Disneyland.
Oh, they're going to have to rename it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Instead of the Magic Kingdom, it's going to be called the Mystic Castle, Mystic Paradise, brought to you by Wampler Disley.
Wampler Disley.
Yeah, so that's... I might have jumped the gun there, but I kind of exposed my theory a little bit. I think it's witchcraft.
Okay.
Tyler, you said you had some...
I have one story, and this one's just really short. So basically, this takes place in Ohio in
Yeah, in Ohio.
Chardon. It takes place on Chilcoth Road, and basically this guy
Chokehold Road.
Chokehold Road.
Chokehold Road, yeah. This guy named Tony. He's driving.
Oh
down,
no,
Tony.
We talked about Tony last week.
He's driving down the road.
Tony should be allowed to drive.
And he said, out of the corner of his eye, he sees these melon heads, and he says they're about 5'7", which I was kind of confused because melon heads are supposed to be short.
Yeah, that's a tall melon head.
That's a tall melon head, and he said they were keeping pace with his car, and he said he was going about 40 miles per
These
hour.
dudes were booking it?
They were booking it, man. They were like Usain Bolt, but big-headed. Imagine
And 5'7".
And 5'7", yeah, because Usain Bolt's like 6'4".
Yeah, these guys are like not quite. They're probably like 1.5 times as fast as Usain Bolt.
Yeah, so they're keeping pace with him, and I was like, huh, that's like bizarre, but I'm gonna put it in.
So, did he say what happened? They just ran and then...
No, he just ran, and then I think he stops.
He was running 40 miles an hour?
No,
Oh.
sorry. He stops the car and tries to get out to like take a picture of him, and they just disappear in the forest.
They're just too fast.
Yeah, they're just too fast.
That's a new aspect of melon heads I never considered, is their speed.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense why they can live so far as up to 40 minutes away from their original location
Yeah.
where they were
They
started.
can travel so
Yeah.
fast.
That makes sense.
Well, it makes sense too why they can move so fast. Like, have you ever started falling over and you try to run to not fall over? Since they are so top heavy, they're always falling over. So they're always booking it at 40 miles an hour.
They're doing a Naruto run where they're like leaning their head out
And
and just booking it.
Arms back
Yes.
to try to stabilize.
Because we all know that's the fastest way you run is a Naruto run.
Yeah.
Do you think so? Have you ever had something really heavy and you're spinning it around, and every time it pulls, you can
The
feel
momentum.
Yeah, you can feel it pull you. Do you think you start doing that with their head, and eventually the momentum just carries them at near light
Maybe
speed?
that's what's happening.
So is it like a propeller? So they
Yeah.
just start swinging their head.
It's that
and they just go,
whiplash.
Yeah, I'm saying we can make a plane out of melon heads.
I feel like
Let's do it.
if they started spinning their heads around, started
It's gonna
whipping their
break their
hair back
neck.
and forth, yeah, their neck is just snapping.
Who knows? It could be like really strong.
But
could
if
be
it
like
snaps, breaks the
cooked
tendons,
noodle,
they could
just
have
floppy.
360 rotation on their head, which would mean more propelling.
That is true.
Yeah, maybe.
I dig it. That's
Okay.
pretty good.
So with all of this in our pockets, Well, most of it. We can't fit the heads. We got their little bodies in our pockets.
No,
Their heads are sticking
But
out.
we can fit juice box straws
We'll
to
get-
shrink their heads to fit it in our pocket.
With that said, and everything laid out on the table, what's the theories here?
I feel like if they're real,
Yeah, let's start with that one. No. Yeah, let's give it benefit of the doubt. Let's start that one. Benefit of the doubt. If they are real, how did it happen?
it's just got to be inbreeding. Like everything that they describe just sounds like deformities that could happen from inbreeding.
Yeah. Well, I have a theory. So I was like looking up because I know in Ohio there's a river that's really toxic, and in the 1960s it caught on fire.
What makes it toxic?
Because I think there was like several like oil spills, and there's also factories putting in chemicals like as a waste product.
And where was this at?
So this is near Cleveland, and it's
It's located in Wyoming, Michigan. Yes, it's super confusing.
oh no, sorry, that's a different one.
Oh, you're not talking about that one?
I'm talking about Ohio, and then I'll go to
We're going to get...
Michigan.
okay.
And so basically this is in the Cuyahoga River that runs through Cuyahoga.
Cayuga.
And so like this is a really toxic river. And so I think at least in Ohio, so when the Melon Heads broke out, they went to that river, and it's a water source, so they start drinking from it.
So you're talking pre-Melon Heads, yes? No.
So like when they escape. So
Yeah.
like
So are you
Are they already melon heads or no?
by
they're
the time...
already Melon Heads,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So basically, when they drink this toxic river, so this is kind of like Daredevil or like Teenage Mutant Ninja
Oh my
Turtles.
gosh, that's okay.
They become super strong, and that's why they're able to run 40 miles per hour.
Yeah, that seems likely. It seems
Yes.
likely that if you were drinking out of a toxic river, it wouldn't kill you, it would just make you stronger.
You never know. And then also, I was looking into Michigan, and so Wyoming, Michigan is near, what was it, Holland, Michigan?
yeah, Holland.
And this
Holland, Michigan. So it's Wyoming, Michigan, located near Holland, Michigan. Could they not come up with an original name?
No.
Okay.
There's two chemical, I think, dump sites, if I remember right. Yeah, two chemical dump sites. One being Organic Chemicals Incorporated, and one being Chem Central. And so that's another way that they probably dumped it in the river somewhere, and they drank the same water.
And it just so happened that the people drinking out of the river becoming strong had hydrocephalus.
Yes.
Now, do you think hydrocephalus is the reason that they became strong and they didn't kill them?
Maybe, because maybe it's a genetic variance where it would, if they didn't have hydrocephalus, it would have just killed them.
Could it
But
also-
since they had this genetic variance, it just made them stronger.
Maybe. Do you
Because
think
you
they
never
could be
know.
injecting the river water into their own heads, and since they have hydrocephalus, fluid isn't escaping, so their
Maybe.
brain is like marinating in toxicity?
I did not think about that, but yeah, that could also be a
A reverse juice box method.
reverse juice box method, making their
jukebox
jukebox.
jukebox method.
But yeah, that's my theory if they exist.
Okay, my theory is more like it just seems more likely than Tyler's. Mine is I was starting it. They're little gem goblins, and their heads. It's not due to hydrocephalus. It's full of precious material, things of high value, things you want. Because if you had to hide something, where are you gonna hide it? If you want anybody to find it, you're gonna hide it in your head. The problem is these guys are greedy. They're little and they're greedy, and their grimy little hands can't help but touch everything of value, and so they just keep filling their noggins with high value things.
How? Is it through the ears, through the nose, through the mouth?
Or do
cut
they
it, slit
open
on
it
the
like
top?
surgically?
What?
Do they surgically open their head?
Like from Diablo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So they do it where, they start when they're a kid because their skull isn't fused. They can just, let me try that again. Pop it right open, put it right in, and close it right back up.
So is it like a coin purse?
Yeah, basically, but it's their skull.
Oh wow.
And so their skull just continually grows larger and larger with precious gems and gold.
So, if what you're saying is true, the older they get, their heads become bigger and bigger. Does that mean they get more powerful?
No, in fact, it'd be the opposite because now they're weighed down.
Oh. Okay.
But now that depends. If they're an active melon head, they are going to become stronger because as they build up this weight, they're continually working out. I mean, their muscles are building, which could explain why they can run at 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if you emptied their head, how fast they could run?
They'd be going as fast as the speed of light.
Now, if you knew in your head was multi-million dollars worth of gems, and where are you going to hide? Well, I'm going to hide in caverns underneath the earth, specifically the local abandoned zoo. That's where I'm going. Now, this Granada, to explain that story, well, we never heard of one. It's probably a nice car. It's probably semi-rare at this point. What are you going to do if you're a little gem goblin? You're going to steal the blue car.
Blue is their favorite color.
Case closed, they're gem goblins. They live in the earth. And if you find one, crack open their head like a piñata, you'll get rubies.
I'd like to point out that I asked if they were real, and then you guys went straight for the opposite.
No, we went if they're real.
No, if they're real.
No, like what is the reasonable thing that could explain them?
Oh,
Inbred.
This is my benefit of the doubt if
Yeah.
they're real, because I don't think they're real.
Yeah,
That's my honest opinion. Is they're not real.
no, if we're because you guys went full crazy. I went scientific.
I wouldn't say crazy.
Also, it looks like you can get a Granada for. There's one for 35,000. There's one for 7,000. There's one for 10,000. It must just depend on the make.
They're also obviously pretty bad at appraising cars. So
They like what they like.
I would like to state then that I still think it's witchcraft. I think that instead of the witches inbreeding and making melon heads, that it's cursed individuals. So it stunts their growth. So they curse these families' babies. It stunts their growths, gives them melon heads, makes them feral animals that they have to release into the woods. I still like to also believe that they're mafia members.
So if the witches were to die somehow, would that relieve the curse or would that continue the curse?
No, it's a generational thing.
Okay, so it's like forever you're cursed.
Yeah, well, imagine... Well, here's the perfect example. Imagine, what's the baby's name from Roger Rabbit? Baby Herman?
Yeah, the weird, cigar smoking
Yeah, imagine that's what you get cursed to be, is Baby Herman.
Please, no.
Yeah, that's what they did. That's where Baby Herman's inspiration came from, was the melon heads.
Alrighty then. So we got witchcraft, we got gem goblins, we got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, Daredevil, toxic
waste.
drinking.
Water. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, let us know which one seems the most plausible. You know what we should start doing after an episode? We should ask the people which theory they think is actually most plausible.
Out of our three, do
Yeah.
a vote.
Yeah.
It's mine every time.
We'll see about that.
Yeah, well, it's because Russia rigged the vote, so I win every time.
Wide Putin's on his side.
Yeah.
So, what is your honest theory?
I mean that they're not real.
So,
I took it as if they were real, what would be the most reasonable
well,
thing?
no, right now. So, what's your honest theory?
They're not real.
So, how did it start?
Honestly, it started a while ago. The stories did. It must have just been like a kid probably actually legit had hydrocephalus, and then that spawned the story. It's like the poor kid was just trying to play outside, and they're like, "Look at that thing in the woods."
It looks like he's got a melon head.
Yeah,
And it makes fun of him. And
yeah, it was
Cantaloupe
probably
boys coming.
something that went from a very fun urban legend to probably a pretty sad backstory.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you
I
think,
honestly
Howard?
agree with Chris, where it's like there was actually probably kids that were at an orphanage that had hydrocephalus, or maybe at an insane
I'd
asylum.
like to. Sorry, you keep saying syphilis.
Did I say syphilis?
Yeah, hydrocephalus.
Hydrocephalus.
Cephalus, sorry. Yeah, not syphilis.
Hydrojaundice.
Yeah, but they got made fun of, they created stories, and maybe why they view him as feral, maybe the kid got his feelings hurt and just got mad.
Yeah, I think it's plausible that these stories could have started back in the 1600s. And so, have you guys seen this new thing on TikTok where people will show their kids a picture of somebody who does have a physical ailment and they look different than them, and like, oh, if you don't behave, this person will come after you. And the
It's so
kid,
sad.
well, it is, but it's a kid, so the kid's scared because he doesn't understand what's going on. What if it was the same thing back in the 1600s? There was, kids born with hydrocephalus, and the parents use it as a way to like punish their kids or to get them to behave. Like if you don't behave, the Melon Head will come and get you.
Oh, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
the episode we did on the Christmas legends. How a lot of those are like, if you don't behave or do
Yes.
this, then what was her
Big
Bertha?
Bertha
Big
What was her
Bertha.
name?
I
And her you children or whatever.
and the cat, the
Yeah.
you cat.
They're coming for you.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah.
it could have started that, and because the kids are, if they see something they don't recognize, it scares them. Now, the adult should have known better and probably not used that as a way to make fun of somebody, but they may have and said, if you don't behave, the Melon Head's going to come after you. And then that just started the theories. And if it started back in the 1600s, one family tells it to their kids and their kids tell it to their kids and so on and so forth. Eventually, you've got states where everyone knows about it, at least areas in a state.
It's
where
like
everyone's heard of it.
almost our last episode with Hudson when we talked about the Ouija board, where it's like these stories that are passed down and they get kind of like telephoned, where they're morphed into a scarier version than there actually are.
Well, because it starts out with just the Melon Head will come get you. And then it's like, well, where did Melon Head start? And you got to start coming up with reasons and where they came from, because you get that one kid who asks too many questions, you got to take him out.
Kill on sight. Done.
Yeah. I mean, anything else you want to add about the Gourd boys?
Oh, there's 2 movies. Like, these are low production movies. I watched one of them on YouTube. It's called The Melon Heads. It's about 50 minutes long. But it's pretty interesting.
Is it a documentary piece?
No, it's basically they just make up a story where this guy who's like a I think cryptozoologist, and he hears about the Melon Heads from his girlfriend. He goes to his girlfriend's like hometown because her dad was killed by a melon head, and he goes investigating and he finds a dude who's like, my daughter died from the Melon Heads, and they go hunting after the Melon Heads, and it's just them in their journey.
Yeah, I watched some on YouTube as well they were more of a documentary style. And I forgot to mention this. They always portrayed the Melon Heads as being like adult size. Yeah, I don't know if that was just
Yeah.
because it was just easier to film, but
Probably.
or if that's in some people's legends they are that large.
Yeah, well, like with all the like different origin stories where the variables, they could be big, they could be small.
Kind of off topic. You said cryptozoologist. Like, sorry, this is a serious question.
Mhm.
What schools do you have to attend to become like a cryptozoologist,
I don't
or
even
like
know if that's like a real degree, is it?
a demon, or study demonology or something?
I
Like,
feel like demonology, you'd have to go to like a theological university, but I could be wrong.
it's just like, what episode were we doing where the dude's like thesis paper was like a demonology thing or whatever?
Oh, that was on
Is that
the
Skinwalker?
No, I
No,
can't.
no,
I don't think so.
no. It was because it was a paper. No, it was the guy who wrote a paper on skinwalkers.
Oh,
Yeah, he wrote a paper on skinwalkers at Utah State University.
for his thesis.
Well, no, he didn't write it on skinwalkers. He wrote it on
Witches.
Navajo witches.
What a
Yeah.
dude! What a
What a
time!
life.
Yeah, seriously. I feel like if you did that now, people would just be like, "What the heck is wrong with you?"
You must listen to Bone
Well,
Patrol.
What is it? I'm gonna look this up real quick. Cryptozoologist salary. I'm curious how much you get as a cryptozoologist.
Well, who's paying you?
Who's paying me?
I don't know. It looks like average salary in San Francisco is about $50,000. Not that bad, but for San Francisco,
That's
Yeah,
it's
it's
terrible.
not good.
You're basically living off food stamps if you get that much.
Let's do demonology salary. I'm just curious because people do it and they're always wearing fancy clothes.
Oh yeah.
The average demonology salary in the United States. Oh my!
What is it?
We're doing the wrong professions. $350,000
No, who is
How-
paying these
as
guys?
of
how
May
long?
28th, 2020.
How long do you have to go to school
Oh,
for?
no.
That's what it says. But the range typically falls between still ridiculous, $297,000 to $404,000, depending on very important factors including education, certifications, additional skills, the number of years you've spent in the profession. So these are the guys who are like accompanying priests and stuff,
Yeah,
right?
I feel though this is like a Richard C. Hoagland situation.
I'm switching careers.
It's like I can just go there and claim I'm a hyperdimensional physicist theorist, but
I haven't graduated high school.
and I make $500,000 a year, but it's because I've duped a bunch of people to pay me.
They could be
Like,
easily common.
Well, I guess though, yeah, it depends. With like demonology and what was the other one you said? Oh, cryptozoology. Zoology. Are these also fringe science?
Pseudosciences.
They're pseudo. They're not.
Yeah,
Is there
pseudo
a
meaning
difference?
false.
Is there a difference between fringe sciences and pseudosciences?
Maybe, but it's probably not.
Well, pseudo doesn't necessarily mean false.
Is it like fake?
No, pseudo you can think of as like, isn't pseudo kind of like per se? Where it's like it's a science per se. So it's not like exactly a science.
So fringe science is an inquiry in an established field of study which departs significantly from the mainstream theories, and that field is considered to be questionable by mainstream.
Okay, that's a fringe science. So that's the interdimensional physics science that Richard C. Hoagland. Pseudo is not genuine, superfluous, or a sham. Oh, you're right.
It means it's mistake, right? Pseudoscience is you mistake it for real science.
Oh,
so
it's
like
not
astrology.
Well, but who's claiming that though? So here's the thing. I understand, for example, like we can use astrology as a big one. There's a lot of people who do believe in it. Now, I'd say the vast majority of people are like, it's a sham, it's a pseudoscience. But who gets to claim that? Who gets to claim that astrology is a pseudoscience, that demonology is a pseudoscience? Like, who's got the authority to actually claim that? Because we may all believe that, but who is actually getting to claim it?
I think that
It seems like a pretty bold statement to make. Like, no, I'm right. It's a pseudoscience.
Well, I don't think that someone claims it. It's just if you have a large group of following that believes it's true science, but there's nothing to back it up as true science, then it's a pseudoscience.
Yeah. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying I believed in astrology, but it just seems bold that someone has the authority to claim this is pseudoscience.
I mean, I think I'm going to say 90% of paranormal activity studies is pseudoscience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like due to like empirical evidence, like or lack thereof.
Yeah, well, that's what makes them so interesting too, though, is there's not that much evidence to back it up, and that's what makes it mysterious and fun to research and to want to believe. So I think for a mainstream scientist, pseudoscience is probably a negative thing to say, like, oh, that's pseudoscience. But I think as like a regular dude just checking stuff out, pseudoscience just means that there's no facts to back it up, right? Like it's people believe it's science, but for no reason really. Yeah. Other than maybe personal experience where their astrology sign was right that day. Like, you will catch the bus. And it's like, well, you caught the bus 7 times this week, so that's not surprising.
Yeah.
Anyways, if you believe in astrology, change my mind. What is that guy's name? Aleister Crowley changed my mind?
Yeah. Aleister Louder with Crowley. Yeah, go listen to him. Great podcast.
But I don't know. I'm genuinely curious on what schools teach demonology and cryptozoology and
something at the Vatican, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Are we going to the Vatican?
Can you speak Latin? Then we're gonna not really
try.
We're not gonna do well there.
If I was getting $300,000 a year, I would learn Latin.
All right, maybe start looking at Latin a little bit.
I feel. Oh my gosh, let's try to find someone who is a demonologist who would be willing to talk with us on the podcast. Give us an insight. We'll job shadow virtually.
Job shadow,
Yeah, I'm serious. Let's see if we can find a demonologist that would be willing to just explain to us what a day in the life is. Why don't we all just look at how to
get these titles so we can imagine on our podcast we could list that we're astound like demonologists.
Well,
do they have online degrees?
I don't know.
I feel like we should all choose one to be.
Okay, we'll look into this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right, on that note,
we got a little off track, but yeah.
On that note, can we lock the crypt? I know it's hard because their heads are so large, but I think we've managed. Tyler's sitting on top of it, holding the door shut. I'm thinking like a coffin-style crypt.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like the cartoons where they sit on their suitcase trying to close it.
I imagine it's like that. Tyler's on it right now. Can we quickly lock this?
We can quickly lock this.
Do it quick.
Got
All right, thanks.
Wait,
Suck it, Melon Heads.
we need a good night slurp with the juice box method.
You got a straw?
I don't, but